YouTube, it's Tiana and you're watching Tiana's Doll Factory. So for today's video, I decided I was going to do a review on When They See Us. So what started this video off is I was seeing Linda Firestein, I think that's how you pronounce her name, correct me if I am wrong. Anyways, her there was a request for all her books to be snatched down out of Barnes and Noble. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty interesting because of her basically selling off these fabricated stories about the Central Park Five. So I was like, okay, well, then they do need to be snatched down and they do need to be left. But I need to do some background on who the Central Five were because I was still kind of confused. Then when They See Us came out, so there was a lot of buzz about it, and I was like, all right, well, I do have a major in cinematography, so why not do a review about it? So I just got done watching the video, so this video is like a fresh reaction. Okay, so let me slow down. I'm gonna go over a few basic points that I feel like stood out in the movie. Okay, starting off with the kids. So there are 5 kids in the movie that are accused of raping and going on basically a whole spree of crimes, and they're being convicted for when the kids are completely innocent. To my knowledge, they were 13, 14, and I think the oldest was 16, and I think that was Usted. So anyways, it was just interesting to me because one of the parents got upset because he was like, tell me what really happened, and I told you not to run away from the police, which is valid advice. So he was like telling him, do what they tell you to do so you can come home, which was the problem for all the kids. See, the police were telling them basically, if you admit and confess to doing it and you write down, like you sign your signature for your statement, then you can go home. So these kids are thinking, okay, all I have to do is just go home. And they were like really grilling them. Like, I think they did 18 hours of interrogation. They didn't have no food, they didn't have no water, they didn't have no naps, they didn't have no sleep. So it's like they're already off. They're like, okay, if I just do this, then I can go home. Why can't I go home? What broke my heart was like, I'm seeing one of them. I hope I'm saying their names correctly. Correct me if I am wrong. So Usted was like, I can't read. And the lady was kept on trying to force them. Was like, Usted was forced to talk on the witness stand, and the lady who's prosecuting him was handing him the sheet, and she was like, so you didn't say this? And he was like, I can't even read. And she was like, so that's not your name at the bottom of the paper? He was like, I cannot read. So I don't even know like what this paper even says. And she's like, well, it doesn't say, such and such. And I'm just like, he's telling you he can't read. That means there is no possible way he could have wrote whatever statement. Okay, I had to stop the video real quick so I could make sure I was saying his name right. So Usted was on the trial and he was on the witness stand. So the prosecutor had handed him the sheet, and she was like, so you didn't write this statement, you didn't say these words? And he was like, I cannot read. So how would the boy be able to, say, oh yeah, I totally said that and did that? The boys just wanted to go home. They were promised, if I say this, then I can go home. Then on top of that, if you look further into the video, like the documentary series, is that what they call it now? A documentary? I'm gonna consider it that. So if you look forward into it, when he has these probation hearings, they're like, do you confess to doing these crimes? And he's like, no, that's what got me here in the first place. Which is a fair thing to say, because it's like, you're saying, if I say this, then I can go home. But I didn't get to go home. Y'all put me on trial, and now I'm here for like X amount of years. Due to, they said also in the documentary, they served between 5 to 14 years. Then at the end, they were like granted $41 million, and I guess they split amongst themselves. That's not enough money. These kids are still, they are, yes, adults, but they are still children, basically. They're basically, if I do my math correctly, they're coming out of 8th grade and at most in 10th grade. Meaning, they don't really have a diploma. So there's no way they can, say, oh yeah, I totally did all this. First of all, when they're being interrogated, their parents were not there. They didn't have a lawyer. They really didn't understand their rights or know their rights. So how can you force a kid to commit to a crime that they didn't even do? So then Linda decided she was gonna force them. Linda made me so freaking angry. Like, y'all don't understand. They literally say in the documentary that there was no DNA from any of the boys matching up to the crime scene. And she was like, well, make it look like they were there. I'm like, what? They're literally like, they're literally children. And she was like, well, it's an epidemic of them creating crimes and stuff. And I'm just like, creating crimes. We have crimes. What? Linda baby. So now her books are snatched from Barnes and Noble. Her publisher has dropped her and stuff like that. She was creating a whole bunch of mess during the movie. She wanted them to make it look like the boys were there. And then at the end, when she was like, they find the actual person. Remember, they didn't even find the actual person. The person actually fessed up to it. And she was like, oh, I always knew there was a sixth person. You knew there was a sixth person because you didn't find the person who matched the DNA. That's how you knew. And you gonna get mad with her and I don't want to say she was a friend. She was a co-worker who was basically fessing up to her. She was like, so how do you sleep at night knowing that you have wrongly convicted these kids of crimes they did not do? And she was just like, I don't lose a wink of sleep. You don't lose a wink? You don't lose a wink of sleep knowing that you have ruined the lives of 5 innocent black young men, that they are never going to see that time again. Never ever. And you're just like, I don't lose a week of sleep. Now, I know that they scripted this, and I know that, you know, some of the scenes could be a little dramatized. However, I don't feel like that was too far-fetched. I feel like that lady really did say she doesn't lose a week of sleep. Because I'm just like, she didn't really have to deal with the repercussions. If we didn't have social media, she wouldn't have to deal with the repercussions. She was still writing books. She was still making money. She just recently got dropped because of the documentary where they revealed all that stuff. And she even said she wouldn't cooperate if they talked to the exonerated men. And I'm just like, Linda, that means you did something that you ain't had no business doing, basically. So here's the subtlety though. She has to pay her publishers back because now they want their money, because you have lied for years that this story was real, that these black young men have raped this girl in Central Park, and they were committing all these crimes, like they were, I guess, knocking people off of the bikes and stuff. It wasn't even true, and she knew it wasn't true. And I'm just like, really? Like, all this for what? For money? So you can sell your books? Like, does not make any sense. Okay, another prominent part I saw in the movie, okay, the parents. These parents were some real black parents. Like, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but hear me out. These parents went down to the police station and they knew what was up already. They knew their kids didn't commit these crimes, these felonies. They're like, no, first of all, that did not happen. So this one mom, I forgot who mom it was. I think it was the youngest one. Anyways, she had bumped into Linda and she was like, well, you need to bring my child out here right now. And Linda was like, well, they committed a crime. They need to serve their time, yada, yada, yada. And this mom was like, it ain't gonna happen. Let me tell you how I'm gonna go to the Times and tell them I can't say interrogate. Don't know why that word keeps slipping my mind. You interrogated this young boy without his mother being present, without a lawyer being present, and they are minors. because that's what they were at the beginning of the movie and throughout the trial. They didn't really become adult and like older until towards like maybe episode 3. That's when they finally switched the kids out for adults. So, and Layla like stopped in her tracks. She was like, yeah, I mean, like, you don't have to do that. And she basically took her boy home. The parents play a very vital point. Like, there's 5 different kids, so each household is different. Eustace's parent, I think his mom was with him the whole time, and he had a brother, and she was just basically fighting really, really hard to get him out. Another one, like I said, the dad was like, you know, do whatever they tell you so they can send you home. And that was valid advice, but at the same time, if you watch the documentary, you see how that went south for him. They said, if you sign this, then you can go home. And the boys are thinking, okay, I'm going home. No, you unknowingly have admitted to a crime that you did not commit. So now they switched. They had took them to court, and basically, once you leave court, it was going to be Rikers Island, which I'm not going to spend too much time on this video, but Rikers Island is already known to do a lot. It is police brutality, you have inmates committing suicide and stuff like that. I had to watch the Kalief Brown story, and that's when I first learned really about what was going on in Rikers. But that's a whole nother story for another day. So you have these parents, they're literally fighting for their kids to come home, and it's like they're the only ones who are in the forefront caring. And there's nothing that they can do. There's nothing that they can say to be like, okay, I can get my child pulled out of here. Until the man at the end finally says, oh, I committed these crimes by myself, and fess up to it, and his DNA match, that was the only way they could get exonerated. And if you don't know what that means, basically their crimes were dropped. They were able to go home, which was the goal of, you know, what the parents were trying to do. Honestly, it was very moving to see like the dynamics of each child. Now, I didn't want to spend too much time on this video because I don't want it to be too long. I didn't really want to spoil it. I just felt like something had to be said. And it's not really thought about, but I guess we live in like the modern civil rights era right now. So at first you knew stuff was going on through the newspaper, and the reason I say it's modern now is because you can actually see videos of it. You can actually, you know, bring your voice to the forefront. In my opinion, I feel like technology played a big role in these 5 young gentlemen getting their justice, because Linda, they didn't get their $41 million until 2002, according to the documentary series. Linda is just now getting in trouble. She is just now getting her books yanked off of Barnes & Noble. She's just now getting her publishers to drop her. She is just in over her head, and everybody wants justice for these kids. Again, they were only like 14, 15, 16, depending on the child you're looking at, going into the system, going into this case. And she's finally getting in trouble for it. And I hope she does get the book. I hope they do find justice, and it's not just for monetary gain, but just to know, sorry, something was in my eye, just to know off the rip that these kids did not do it, but because you want to make money, because you want to sell your books, you decide to force them to fess up and to do this time that they do not deserve. And I feel like that says a lot about, you know, today's life. As much as we would like to say stuff has changed, things are better now, things are not different as much as you would like to think they are. But on a happier note, I am glad I sat through When They See Us. I hope you go ahead and watch it. I definitely recommend it. If you like these types of videos, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and actually leave some recommendations down in the comment area. Until the next video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.